Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Business of Wellness podcast. I'm David Guttman, your host. I've got two really interesting guests today. We got to catch, we met, I guess it was back in April now,
Yeah.
back at the CryoCon conference. So Paul and Terri Hooten, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for inviting us.
So, and the name of your business, of your cryotherapy business is what?
Ultra Cryo and Recovery.
Got it. So what I wanted to do, especially after we got to dig in a little bit to the journey that you guys went on, is kind of how you decided that you wanted to be business owners. I know you had already had a single location gym, I believe it was,
Correct.
but that was a little bit more of a lifestyle business, and maybe Paul, maybe you got a little frustrated with with working for the man, but maybe go back a little bit further. What did your folks do? Were your folks entrepreneurs? Like what got you to even think in that direction?
So for me, both my parents are entrepreneurs. My dad was a cattleman. He owned two cattle markets, started auctioneering when he was 14. And then my mom started a plant nursery. So we ended up with 7.5 acres of plant nursery. So we sold to Walmart, Kmart, different places like that. So I grew up with two entrepreneurs.
How about you, Terry?
I did not. My dad worked for a company and retired, but did very, very well. And so he then got into the cattle business, but it was really just recreational. But they always taught me to be strong and independent and be able to take care of myself and not rely on anybody. So I guess in that came that entrepreneurial kind of instinct in me somewhere. And he
Right.
pulled it out.
Well, the one thing you had said off camera, Paul, that I thought was interesting was, and again, so while I do have, higher education, I'm one of the few people that has it that genuinely thinks it was close to worthless. Most of the people that think it's worthless didn't do it. And again, I kind of joke it's sort of the dirty secret. Maybe talk a little bit about your journey there, and basically, without having those degrees, all the guys and gals with the degrees are now all working for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny. So I grew up in a rural town, a farmer. So school was not, talked about. They want you to work on the farm. If you went to school, great, but otherwise they wanted you to work on the farm. So even went into Marine Corps, turned down a GI Bill because school was never even talked about, right?
Mm,
So went on through, got into sales, got into business development. A company I worked for made me go to school to get a degree. They paid for it, and I learned absolutely nothing. I was so disappointed that I thought I was going to walk away with this new found information that was going to just propel me forward. And it was a disruption in my life. I was frustrated that I felt like I was getting dumber, not smarter. And I'm sad to say that. So
yeah.
anyhow, fast forward, I've run $50 million companies. I've helped a lot of people become millionaires, and I want to do it on my own. So we started our own business, and 3/4 of the people work for us have major degrees in, science and, different degrees, and they all work for us. So
Right.
I find it interesting that they go to school and they really don't learn anything. And we're teaching them the value of life, the value of dollar, how to have uncapped revenue, how to make more money, and we're trying to teach them to be entrepreneurs as well.
Right. Well, so what do you think is different in their mindset that the people that take the more traditional route versus you all?
As far as school or
Well,
work,
just that sort of leads them in that direction.
yeah. So a lot of it is their parents push them. Their parents push them because they didn't get an education, or because they did get an education, they pushed them to go that route, and that's what the Americans' dream is. You have to go to school to get ahead, and it's just not true. It
Yeah.
just is not true whatsoever. And even so, I've seen parents of kids who work for us that were making more than their parents were making, and when they finished their degree in therapy, they forced them to go into the hospital to be a therapist, making half of what they were making while they were working for us. That's how embedded that rule is into the minds of Americans.
Yeah, the level of brainwashing, and again, it's, Paul, you and I are the same age, but it made a little bit of sense, back 40 plus years ago, because accumulating knowledge then was much harder, right? Like you'd go to a library and use the Dewey Decimal System to look up a book that someone, by the way, that book was written 9 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, and it's checked out. Come back next week, maybe it'll be back in, and you don't even know if the book's any good. There's no book reviews. So there's no like Amazon 4 or 5 star book reviews you
Right.
can read to see if it's any good. So it's like, or you go to a, even when you go to a, college or university, you're taking a class, and again, back then, because there was no internet, there were no like professor reviews or anything like that. So you're randomly signing up for a class based on the time slot you have available. You don't know who's teaching that course if they're any good for the most part. And you don't know, so it's like the way to accumulate knowledge was so inefficient. And now we have the flip side problem, whereas there's so much information. And the problem is if you're learning a new skill, you don't have the domain expertise to know whether that's good information or bad information. So there's too much information, and it's easy to acquire, but you don't know if it's the right information.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably where I learned the most of what I've learned is reading books. The difference between college and reality is I can pick the books that I want to read. It's going to get me where I wanna go. So buy back your time. Why? The bunch of different books that we have written or read over time or going to Tony Robbins,
Hmm.
class,
Mhm.
learning about business. Dave Ramsey, Build a Business You Love. We've read all of those books to help propel us in the industry that we're in, not trying to learn how to speak better or write better or whatever class they made you take.
So
Right.
here's why having an amazing partner is so incredible. I despise reading, always have through
Right.
school, and he reads them, gives me all the highlights and the great points about it, and lets me move with the good stuff without all having to filter through all the garbage.
Yeah.
So picking your partner is super key in any kind of business or relationship because we are literally the exact opposites when it comes to some of those things, but yet it works dynamically for us.
Well, I have a little hack for you that you couldn't really do until a few years ago, or, which is I now use AI because most business books, can be distilled down to 5 or 6 pages, like the
Sure.
actual useful content. But it's very formulaic. It has to be 200, 250 pages,
Mhm.
and this font, and this many chapters, and so on and so forth. It's very formulaic. But you can you basically say, hey, summarize, Leaders Eat Last, or one of the
Yeah,
Simon Sinek books,
yeah.
or whatever it might be, or what's your why, or and you'll get a 5 page summary, and that will give you like 90% of the value. Obviously, it doesn't work as well in a fiction book. Fiction, more for, or maybe the self-help stuff. Well, so how did you decide that you wanted to go into business together? Like, I'd love to understand that conversation that you had.
So for me, we had just met, started dating,
Mhm.
and I was working for a home health agency, a business development VP, and I always wanted to do business on my own, but just didn't have the time or really the knowledge. And so whenever we started dating, she had a CrossFit gym, and I was very interested in her owning a gym. And so just we started dating, got married, and um, at that point, I've found my partner that I knew I could trust. And so I always want to start a business, but I couldn't stop doing what I was doing. I shouldn't say I couldn't. I didn't have the guts to stop doing what I was doing to to pursue it. So she was available. She knew business. So I invested in her. I came to her with the ideals. She was the operations manager, so to speak, and I was, the CEO. And so she followed directions very well. I taught her how to sell, and it just really took off from there. I had no clue it would be where it is today at
Mhm.
all, but it showed that I could be successful no matter what setting I was in. So whether I was selling commercial printing, whether I was selling medical equipment, whether I was selling home health, or whether I was selling, wellness,
Mhm.
I've been very successful. I've been very blessed, but it takes a partner to help you get there for sure.
Yeah, the best partnerships, I think, and when you have the best partnerships, two things have to be true. You have to trust each other completely,
Mhm.
and the less overlap in your skill sets, the better.
Correct.
You want, like no more than 10 or 20%. The worst partnership I ever had, great guy, still friends to this day, but we had like 80% overlap. And the problem was, that means one of us is having to do stuff that they're not very good at.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And we totally compensate for each other's weaknesses.
right.
Um, he lifts me up and elevates me tremendously. I mean, honestly, I would still just be doing my gym. I didn't
Right.
have enough sight to see past that.
Right.
And I didn't have enough sight to see past having one cryotherapy wellness center. Um, he's the one who created all of that vision. He's the major push and drive behind it. I'm the no person. I'm the
Right.
non-risk taker, just totally transparent here. I'm not the risk taker because I've been dead broke and had
Right.
nothing, and that scares me. I don't want to be there
Yeah.
again, right? So I'll push really hard with what I have and just keep it nestled right here where I'm safe. And he pushes me out of that comfort zone. And now I think I'm far better. I say more yeses than I do nos now.
Right.
But at the beginning, when we hired our very first consultant to come in, like 30 days after we opened, come in and just kind of give us an overview. We just had so much we just didn't know what to do with.
Right.
And he warned him. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, when you speak to her, she's going to tell you no. She's going to tell you she's already been there, done that. She's going to tell you no. So he guides me through the process, and I'm meeting him and we're doing our thing. I'm going through my consultation, all the things when you start a business and you're owner operator, right?
Right.
So I'm doing all the things, and he starts saying, okay, he goes, this was great. This was great. Here's what I would do. Oh, no, I've done that before. Well, I would consider, and he just started laughing.
Right.
And I'm looking at them and I'm like, what is so funny? And he said, your husband warned me that you
I
would say
said, "Dude, you're
no.
not supposed to rat me out.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to tell her I told you."
Yeah.
Well,
So I learned a lot from that apparently I did say no a lot. So I've learned to stop and think a minute. And then sometimes I'll just say, can I get back to you on that? Just give me a minute. I need to digest that a little bit better. Because my initial response is usually go, nope, I don't really want to do that right now.
I had a CFO at I think we worked together at 4 or 5 different companies, and I used to call her, Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, and she was Eeyore in human form. Um,
I
and
don't know if that's a good thing.
no, well, so I find it because I'm an optimist, right? And
Yeah.
I think I'm very I think I'm a realist. I think a lot of optimists think they're realists. I would say I'm somewhere between an optimist and a realist. Um, and I actually liked having someone that would basically tell me everything was a terrible idea and any of my ideas were going to fail miserably and what was I thinking? We'll just stick with what we're doing, Dave. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
And I found it really forced me to really test the edges of my ideas in a way that got me to a better result.
Yeah.
So I actually find having someone like that in the business is actually super helpful, so long as they will eventually come around when presented with, overwhelming evidence
Right.
to prove the other point.
Right. And that's what I always tell him. Bring me a bigger picture
Right.
of what this looks like. And now he knows, right?
Yeah.
Now we've been in business together long enough that he knows what it's going to take for me to digest this new thought process, right? Opening up location number 4, right? Oh, I just really want these 3 to just, when is too much, right?
Right.
And but his vision is bigger, and that's fine. And I'm on board with that, but you bring me what that process looks like. How
Right.
are we going to get there? Right. And so we work really well in that respect, but learning each other through the process, and being married also makes another added layer,
Sure.
because I'm a female, and women, if you guys don't know yet, women take everything personal,
Okay.
whether it is or not, right? And he is very black and white. For me, there's a lot of things that go gray here. And if you talk to me gruff, I'm going to be upset with you, right?
Right.
I'm going to tell you were mean to me today.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my gosh, I was just telling you my plan. So we've had to learn, and I'm better at separating business and personal now. And I clock myself out sometimes. And he's like, no, I'm going to clock you back in. I'm not done yet. I have an imaginary time clock on my wall. I'm like, I'm out today. I'm done. Terri cannot handle any more of Paul today. But, so we make jokes like that. We find a way to laugh through some of the pain, because being an entrepreneur, I think people think it's easy,
Right.
that you get all this extra time, that you just immediately start making money, that you don't have to work. To be an entrepreneur, you have to work harder than you do going and punching a time clock in a business. You have
Right.
to care more. You have to be passionate about what you do, and you have to do that every day. You don't get a day off from that.
Yeah.
We take time and do things, but we're still mentally working. We're still there. We're still present, right?
And what Dave talked about, the overlap, we're
Mhm.
really good about communication. you know, our tap out word is you're out of your lane.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
know, she can come to
Your
me and
lane.
says, "You're in my lane," and immediately I stop what I'm doing. Not at first. I didn't do that at first.
Right.
But we've had to learn to respect each other's lanes and who is responsible for what.
Mhm.
And at first it wasn't clear. It's clear now, but at first it wasn't.
Yep.
And it took us time to communicate to go, okay, what's the word? And so when we say that, we go, okay, I need to step back.
Yeah. It was funny. I was doing a podcast yesterday with a guy who became friends with in high school, believe it or not. And his wife said something and I said, I'll give you credit for it, but I'm totally stealing that. How you behave when you're signing the front of a check versus the back of a check
Oh,
is completely different.
amen to
And
that.
most people
Yeah.
don't realize what being an entrepreneur is. They think that, I'll get to work on my golf game. I'll,
Yeah. Yeah.
set my own hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have no idea.
Right.
Yeah, so-
But, this is 7 years in business.
Right.
We're at the 7th year where now I can schedule a golf game on a Friday afternoon.
Right.
I couldn't do that before. There
Yeah.
was no time for that. We were working until 10 p.m., midnight, and then I'm up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. when I was going and coaching my first 5 a.m. class.
Right.
We did all the things. And so time and doing better and building a strong team allows you to take that Friday afternoon to
Mhm.
go play some golf. Now, I'll tell you, if one of my girls is trying to work a deal and can't get it done, they call me. And
Right.
I answer my phone. We will do deals on the golf course, right?
Right.
It still gets done. But we did have to find some time for us outside of work and business, right? So, and that's how we do it. We clear our minds. We tell ourselves we're done. And my operations manager knows that unless it's, a really big deal and somebody dies, don't call me, right? That's our
Right.
saying about things. If nobody dies, we're good,
We can
right?
fix it.
We can fix it. We can fix it. But, that took years to get there. But that's funny. That's all people see right now today. Oh, you guys are always on a cruise. We're not always.
Right.
We take 2 cruises a year.
And we take our computers with us.
And we take our computers with us. We still do all of our Zoom meetings that are scheduled on our calendar, no matter where we are. And but you find ways to do that and mix the both and have kind of a work-life balance because that is important. And we
Yeah.
didn't work this hard not to be able to have that. I mean, I'm 64. My days are numbered, right?
Right.
I'm gonna work all the way. I feel like I've got 20 good years left in me and doing health and wellness. I will have 20 years left for me. But it's just not a piece of cake. You have to work to get there.
Yeah.
So we get asked a lot, what's your secret? What's your secret? What's your secret? What are you doing about marketing? What are you doing about this? And, first for us, it's God first in our business, always has been in our lives.
Absolutely.
And we give him all the glory and all the praise for everything that we have. And so that's us. And they don't want to hear that, right?
Right.
It's got to be, okay, that's great. What else? Well, okay, it starts there. And so, then we venture into the marketing thing, and we hear a lot, oh, I've done that, the Terri scenario. I've done that, been there, whatever. And so did you try it for 24 hours? Did you try it for a week? What is your timeline before you decide that it didn't work, right? And sometimes people don't want to spend the money to make something go the next level. They cut something before it gets a chance.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, when it comes to marketing, I hate looking at the marketing dollars that we spend.
Sure.
But I know if we don't spend those, that the other result is not going to be there as well. So you have to know what to cut and what not to cut. What's frivolous, what isn't frivolous. And so I'm probably taking you down a rabbit trail you didn't even want to go to today.
No, but interesting point though, because I'm curious. It's one of the things I talk about all the time on the marketing side is especially when you maybe haven't done it before. How do you know when you've given it long enough? What's the process or framework you use to think about that?
So this goes down a rabbit trail. Sorry. So when we first got into business, we hired outside agencies to help us. And what we found was it was only going to get so good.
Yeah.
We weren't going to get so far.
They're
And
never going to care about it as much as
No,
you.
No.
and it's always going to be a roller coaster. It's
Yeah.
really good,
They'll
it's
do
really good.
just enough
it's
to not
crap.
fire them.
and I couldn't
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I couldn't control it.
Yeah.
I could not control it. So we now have our own marketing agency. And so we have parameters set in place. So how long is too long? So I have it set. If the ad goes over X for 2 days, cut it, start with another. We're A/B testing always. So I already have another ad ready to go that's already been through the learning phase that I could turn right on immediately. So
Smart.
that's what's been successful for us. And I've learned that over the 7 years of spending a lot of money hiring people to teach me I should have done that. They didn't do that, but that's what we should be doing. My entire company runs off AI.
Mm,
All of it. So everything we do is either AI generated or AI thought of, or I use ChatGTP 50 times a day.
right.
And so does my
Yes.
entire company. Everybody on my team uses ChatGTP because it's smarter than us,
Yeah.
right? And you can do it much
It's
faster.
quicker.
And so our marketing we have set up to where it goes to Canva. It also goes to our Go High Level. So it's all intermixed together. Then through Go High Level, we have more AI on that as well. So we're in the AI as deep as you can get. I've lost money on producing AI bots because I was ahead of the game.
Right.
And when it come back, places like Go High Level won't let you have your own AI attached to that. So, and if you do, it doesn't really work as good. So now we're using their AI versus what we created to
Okay.
begin with. But that's okay.
Yeah.
So to answer your question is we have metrics in place to measure them, and whenever it stops performing at the level we want it at, we have a cap, and you
Mm.
just ditch it and go with the next one.
Well, it's one of the things that I always warn people about, and I think it's especially true in marketing. In fact, the two hardest people to manage in my professional career are chief marketing officers
Mhm.
and chief technology officers.
Okay.
Chief marketing officers, they just want a marketing budget, and when you want to say, well, okay, you want a $15 million marketing budget, how much profit is that going to generate? Well, it's hard to say. I'm like, well, then you're not getting any money. It's
No.
Well,
like,
And I'm the money person. So no additional ad spend gets added
right.
without proof and where it's going to go from here. What
Well,
is the game plan,
the where it's going
right?
to go is the critical part, which is I always say. So I would say to a chief marketing officer, "Hey, we're going to run this campaign." I'm like, "Okay, well, what would it need to do for you to decide it's successful?" And so let's just say, "Oh, it's going to generate 30,000 in revenue and 20,000 in gross profit." Okay, I said, "Tell you what, and we're going to spend 10,000, right?" Okay, I said, "Tell you what, I'm going to reduce the threshold of success down to 15,000. Okay, from versus your 20." I said, "But if it's $14,999.99, we're killing it." Like,
Mhm.
you have to
Mhm.
define success
That's
in
right.
advance, because if you don't, you'll get directional results and then you'll talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
1000%.
So we have KPI
Mhm.
set up on everything from
Mhm.
leads coming in to what converted to who bought for what was the front end package cost, the average package cost, to what's my return on investment. We have a spreadsheet that we go over it daily. And then my marketing manager gets bonused off of the KPI. She has to hit at least two of those KPIs to get anything. And if she hits 4 or 5, obviously she gets more. So she's incentivized. So when she first came on, she came with the agency mindset.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I'm just going to get you as many leads, and your cost per lead is $12. I said, I don't care how much the cost per lead is.
Right.
I could care less. I want to know my return on investment. If it's at 1,400%, me and you are doing good.
Right.
If it's at 200%, I need to find somebody different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so over the last year and a half, her mind has changed so much. And we go out and go high level experts. We find meta experts that we come in and have our fixer system, but she manages all that for us based off the KPIs that we give her.
Well, so you have 3 locations, opening a 4th, or
We're
Yes.
working on the 4th,
Mhm.
right?
Got
We're
it.
searching out our 4th location right now. So I wanna take that marketing thing back to
Sure.
when you're new, when you're considering doing this, and when you think you need to add marketing, right? You have to add marketing, right? I don't care if you're doing $100 a day. You find a way to sell that extra package and make that figure out what that costs you per week and per month and sell that extra package to make it happen. You have to have it. But when you're new, you do have to rely on outside sources.
Mhm.
But what you can do for yourself is understand the process, understand the back end of Facebook Ads Manager, understand what those numbers are telling you so that when your marketing team isn't responding in the manner that you know why.
And they're not
And
going to.
that was our biggest thing at the beginning is, this was the expert. This was the professional, right?
Mhm.
And so I've
They went to
learned
school.
they are the guru. And so we just thought in the beginning it was supposed to be this roller coaster. Should
Right.
never take 2 weeks to 3 weeks to change an ad that's failing. should never take that long. And when it does, guess what happens to your sales and your revenue?
Right.
It tanks too, right? And so we learned that we didn't like that. How do we fix that, right? So I had to learn all the back end, how this works. Do I create the ads? No. But am I the last one to see it before it goes out? I am. Why? I'm our avatar.
Right.
I'm the woman that comes to see us. What appeals to my eye?
Right.
Not my 25-year-old marketing manager. She
Right.
has no clue, right? Totally clueless. Look at me and ask me, would I look at that? And so we've had to really hone in like what we're looking for, what we want, and then just create that system. But in the beginning, you don't have the resources to do that, but you need to have the resources for that marketing, but you also need to be smart. You need to go to the backside. You need to learn. You need to understand. Don't let them be smarter than you because they'll tell you what you want to hear. That's normal. That's the way this works. It's going to be okay. And then they jump in, they make a change to satisfy you really quickly.
Right.
And then everything goes back up again. You're feeling good, but it's going to come crashing down because it always does.
And we've made a lot of mistakes and we've learned to test. So we've tried the, high intent forms to the Walmart style, let everyone show up, right? And both have their pluses and minuses. And so we've tried them all and we just keep learning. And what works today isn't going to work next week. And
Well,
we've learned that.
that right there, Paul, is one of, I think, the hardest lessons for, especially for successful entrepreneurs to learn, is because, you're like, well, all of a sudden you start believing your own press. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Right. And the reality is, kinda, but not really, right? Meaning like, because the circumstances on the ground always, often change. Like, oh, I don't know, let's say a pandemic happens, right?
Yeah.
Like things change. So let's go back if you don't mind. So Paul, the idea is originally yours. You're gonna fund it, right? And Terry's gonna execute on it. Did you have a full-throated business plan? Just a rough sketch of what you thought you wanted to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote out a whole 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. My sister helped me do that.
Right.
She has a degree, by the way.
And very
She's
smart.
highly intelligent. So she helped me put the plan together, and within 6 months, we had blown past the 5 year plan.
Wow.
So it taught me that the 5 year plan isn't important.
Right.
It's just that's too far out. Things are happening so fast. You better be quicker than that. But in my mind, I'm a visionary. I could see it. I could actually visualize it. I don't know why or how, but I could. And so, yeah, we had a plan. We executed it. We're not afraid to bring in experts. We're not afraid to say we don't know and to bring in an expert. And we brought in experts that did good, and we brought in experts that didn't do so good. But it hasn't shied me away from doing it.
Yeah.
I'm very good at filtering. I can get rid of the good, take the bad very quickly. And so that's helped us a lot as well.
Yeah.
So, what's the, what's the game plan? Is it to grow to a certain number of locations or a certain amount of revenue, whatever it might be, and then have an exit? Or what do you guys think about that?
It's a great question. And we might give you two different answers. I don't know. So I am younger than her.
Right.
So I got more than 20 years left. No, just kidding. So for me,
women live longer than men.
Yeah. So for me,
I didn't say that I wasn't going to live longer. I just said that there was going to be a certain point to where I'm just going to love life, right?
Right.
For me, when you're building something, how big can it get? How much can you make of it? And to me, it wasn't about revenue. We're well past the revenue I ever dreamed we would get to. For me, it's more about building something sustainable that I knew that I could always do and never had the opportunity, and then took it. And so I'm excited. I'm still on fire. I'm still excited about that. The problem with adding more locations is we've leveled up our equipment. So it used to be 150 to 200 grand to open a new location. Now I'm at 500 grand to open a new location. So, and we funded ourselves up front.
Right.
So you have to have that before we do that. So, I don't know how big it's going to get. So as far as the exit plan, absolutely, we would sell the business at some point for sure. We thought about, our family. We don't really have entrepreneurs coming up.
We don't.
Did you guys have children? Or?
We do not
Okay.
together, but we
Not-
don't together.
Right.
We do not together. Right now, we're actually have the privilege, and I do consider it a privilege of mentoring our grandson, mine by
nice.
blood, but he's in his last year of college. Of course, because the degree's important, but he's getting a business degree, and
And what
he
he's gonna go do has nothing to do with a business
Of
degree.
course.
right. And so, he came to us at Christmas this last year, and he was talking to Paul and talking about, Paul's like, so what do you want to do when you get done? Paul's really good at mentoring, the younger people about that. What is your plan? And he's like, I really don't know. And so then through all of that came the conversation, could I come over summer and, just mentor with you guys, follow you around in the business, see what
Wow.
it's like to be an entrepreneur and own
Smart.
your own business. And we were like so honored that, a 20-year-old at that time boy, who they don't think much, would, would want to come and do that, and let alone with his Mimi, right? So we're like, well, sure. And so he is here. And then through that, we've hooked him up with the right mentors to talk to about business and how to get started that are our business mentors. And he applied and went through a lot of classing and certifications to start an internship with Northwestern Mutual.
Hmm.
And we're really excited. He starts here in a couple of weeks, and he's finishing his last year online, so that we complete that. That's important to all the family that he does complete that. And so I take that at a really high level, that I'm able to mold somebody to look at life differently, and what's my next step? Where am I going to go? How can I get there? While it may not be running, and he can see that he can do that. Our business is 99% female,
Mm.
right? And so it's not a place he can't be in the rooms with the girls learning sales techniques, but he's in on all the meetings and the trainings, right? So he's learning that aspect, and you can take that anywhere. And so anyway, we're hoping that we set him on a really amazing path for a great future where he can be financially secure. Paul always starts out, so if you don't know what you want to do, like what kind of house you want to live in, what kind of car you want to drive,
Right.
how do you want to dress? Well, this is what it takes. This is the money that it takes for you to afford
So I take him to
that.
Indeed. I said, well,
Yeah.
that's going to cost you about 150 grand a year. So let's go to Indeed and let's find a job where you can make that.
Right.
So, anyway, I'm loving having him here doing that. I've set him in working leads, and,
He's done a little bit of
he's
everything.
done a little bit of everything. He did some videoing of me, kind of likes the marketing side, he thought. So I've had him do some video shoots with me and stuff. And he's in one of them. He gets to hand me the vials of meds. It's just his arm. It's just a wacky thought I had. I'm like, how do I get him in this, And but anyway, we've just kind of thrown him in everywhere we could. We've thrown him in the hard stuff, putting furniture together or moving equipment, just, the grunt work part of it too, like every aspect, sitting through days of Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, right? And that's part of it. That's especially when you have multiple locations, we can't always be everywhere. So a lot of things do have to be by Zoom. But yeah, how big, what's the exit? The exit obviously would be, the prime exit would be to be able to sell, and somebody to take this to another level that we may not have time left to do. I definitely think 1 to 2 more locations is where we'd like to be. We really want to dominate the area that we're in.
Right.
I know there's no one else out there like us, and that offers all the different modalities and things that we do and how we put things together. And I love that. But I think it's honestly too, as long as we're still having fun and we have the energy to do it, right?
Yeah.
Is every day great? No. But every day is awesome at the same time.
What's the total headcount for the 3 locations you have open now?
For
Like
employees,
total employees, or yeah.
was it 40?
42.
42?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good size organization.
Yeah.
That's from IT to marketing to an executive assistant to ops manager to senior manager to managers to all the way down.
And the one of the other things, and you'd mentioned it before, what you're doing with your marketing person. I think the other big mistake people make is owners can be really greedy sometimes, and having alignment of incentive. And the part that's interesting to me is, if you are actually greedy, the best thing you can do is align incentives, right? Because people are going to behave differently, right? If you want, I always say, if you want people to act like owners, make them owners. Whether that's in some form of profit sharing or giving them some small amount of equity, it just changes people's mindset, and it also allows you to retain people that are more like what I guess I would call an entrepreneur, like an entrepreneur within
Mhm.
the organization.
Right.
The person who could and maybe will eventually go out and do something on their own,
Yep.
maybe like your grandson.
Right.
But that kind of person, having them be able to stay along for the ride for 4, 5, 6 years because they're feeling real ownership in it, while they're also getting some really useful skills,
Yeah.
is I think accelerates the growth and will make the business worth more. And whatever you're giving them will be a fraction of the value they actually
Yeah.
generate.
So we have the 401k set up. So once you're with us for 2 years, you can move to the 401k. And so we have the profit sharing with that as well.
You guys do like some kind of match or something?
We do.
We do.
Yeah, we do. We really, so, this world's apprised of how much you make hourly,
Right.
right? I want this, I need this much to survive. Well, when you work for us, like we're only going to pay so much hourly. That's not where you earn your money. You earn your money by working hard and earning commissions. We have heard, we talked to so many across the US and really even the world abroad as well, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't do that. We pay this." And I said, "Well, there's no incentive to sell. My people won't sell. There's no incentive to sell." And so if you don't, I mean, if you don't think that we have to sell, then you're in the wrong business. You have to, that is part of the job, right? You
just
do
to-
have to do that.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, I put together a meme. It says 0 to 8 grand is what your bonus could be this month. The dash is up to you. Right.
I like that.
And so we've had girls on our team make 14 grand in a month
Mhm.
in commission. And so the money's there, and it's not just one that can do it. There's several that can do it.
Right.
But the dash is literally up to them. We bring people in, we teach them how to sell, we teach them how to talk. Everyone that works for us has to read the book, How to Win Friends, Influence People. The managers have to read the book, 1 Minute Manager, the new 1 Minute Manager. And then when things change, we also have them read Who Moved My Cheese. Right?
Okay.
I had to just recently reread it myself because I'm like,
So
my cheese moved.
we also bring in financial advisors. We bring in all different resources. Our thing is about empowering women.
Mm.
So our major place that we donate to is Convoy of Hope.
Okay.
And so we give them quite a bit of money a year. And it's for 3 reasons. One's empowering women, the other is feeding the hungry, and the other is for disaster relief. So we give the 3 different things for
Mhm.
them. And so our team gets to understand empower women. When we're talking about empowering women, we're bringing in women who either have a degree or don't have a degree, but can't get a job, don't have any skills at all. And we take them from the ground up. So our ops manager has been with us 5.5 years, somewhere in there. Came to us right out of college. Actually, we met her in high school. Worked her way up. Now she's our ops manager. Makes over 100 grand a year. She's doing really well. And she calls
She's
me.
23.
She calls me
Nice.
and says, "Hey, the neighbor's house or the neighbor's cutting a tree and fell in my house. What do I do?" I mean,
Right.
that's how much we're pouring into them. Like
Sure.
we're a resource to them. She went to buy her own
Her
car.
first car.
Didn't want anyone to go with her, but tell me, Paul, how to do this. And so I coached her through the whole thing as she bought her own car. She was so excited. So those are the things we do. It's like we try to build them up and send them out.
Well, so you mentioned that the business is almost exclusively women. Well, why is that?
Well, probably because I'm the one who's the face of it, I
Okay.
would say. We do have tons of male clients,
Right.
but 99% I'm going to say are female, but we have all females working for us too,
Okay.
right? Women my age, I'm not going to show my vulnerabilities to
Yeah.
a stud muffin. I mean, it's just not going to
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Paul's the only one who has the sad eyes to have to see all those vulnerabilities. But it's we can understand better, right? We can understand the male better, and they're okay with
Okay.
that too, right? If we found the right person,
Right.
we would hire. We're not opposed to it by any means.
Right.
It's just that's
Well,
who
interesting.
comes to us, right? It's an aesthetic business, and I haven't met a guy that wants to do an anti-aging facial on a female yet, right? I just haven't. So
Yeah, and for me, I was hardcore against it because women will not share with a man. They won't be honest with them, right? And whenever you're in a consultation, if you can't be honest, I can't tell you exactly what you need to get
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And so eventually you're going to be upset that you didn't get the results that you were looking for, but you didn't give me the information either,
Got
right?
it.
And so we started off that way, and we had to buy these 3D scanners to show people, yeah, you actually did get change, because they can't see change, right?
Mm.
And they're not going to hear me say that. They can hear it from Terri because she's tried the diet pills. She's tried the surgery. She's
Yeah.
tried the working out. She's tried all the things, and she can go, honey, I've been there.
Mm,
Right.
I've been there. I've done that. I know how you feel. I can't say that and be
right.
honest. I can't. Now, I can have empathy for you, but it's not
Not on the same level.
self-empathy.
Yeah, it's funny. I it'd probably get me canceled, but I, for me, I've hired a lot of men and a lot of women, and my career, like probably over 500. Um, and I prefer to hire women than men as a general rule. There's always exceptions, obviously, because I feel like with men you're managing egos, and with women you're managing emotions.
Yep.
Egos are permanent, emotions are temporary.
So you and
That's
I are on the
correct.
same page. So I did
Mhm.
home health care, and I had 50 women working for me,
Right.
underneath me, and I got along great with it. There was 2 men, they were hotheads, they were alphas, you couldn't
Right.
tell them anything. They refused to grow because they couldn't listen.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for that. I want to share my experience, strength, and hope with you, but I want you to pay attention and run with it. The emotions I can deal with. I had 4 sisters.
Yeah.
I got the emotions down pat.
I remember I had this chief operating officer, not the woman I said was Eeyore. She was my CFO, but the COO. She just had, she has more of a masculine energy. It was fun whenever I would come to her with an idea. It was literally the dumbest idea she'd ever heard, but I just knew I just had to wait 61 seconds, exactly like 1 minute on the nose. She'd be like, "But now that I think about it, if we just made this tweak and this adjustment, we could do this, and then that would totally work."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And again, my feathers don't get ruffled, so I actually found it humorous. But I think it's important to to have that kind of. And I think a good parent is the same thing as a good manager or leader in an organization, which is you're gonna, you have 3 different kids, you're gonna parent them differently.
Mhm.
It's like not everyone has the same wants and needs, and understanding them, is super important to be able to motivate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have different leaders for sure,
Mhm.
right? For sure. We have one leader. She's an entrepreneur by heart. She can run any office that she wants untouched. You don't have to go help her or anything. She
Right.
runs it just like she owns it. It's amazing. And then we have others that look for that. They look for you to give them that "atta girl," "Yeah,
Right.
great job," or they're scared to make a decision. And I keep telling, just make the decision.
Yeah.
If no one dies, we can fix it. Just make the decision. So you do have to treat them differently. And when I have conversations with them, I have to be careful how I'm talking to who,
Mm,
because some can take it, most can't, right? They're not used to that direct conversation. They become emotional, and that's okay. I'm used to it, and I deal with it. I just wait for them to quit being emotional, and then we move forward. And I just, anybody that I mentor gets that from me. They go,
yeah.
Paul's just going to tell you how it is, and you
Mhm.
can be emotional, and he will let you finish being emotional, and then he will continue his conversation. And I don't mean it disrespectful, but your emotions are yours, not mine.
Yeah.
And all my managers have to read the book, EQ, Emotional Intelligence.
Okay.
And so they're all younger, so they're trying to understand their emotions and how to keep them in check and all those fun things. But yeah, everyone is different how you talk to them for
But
sure.
the fact that you're having these people, and this might have been by design, but I think the beauty of the fact that you're having these people read these books as part of, either being employed or, getting, rising within the
Mhm.
organization, almost by definition will only attract employees that have a growth mindset,
Yes.
which is
Absolutely.
so important.
Mhm.
Like I think that if you don't have the growth mindset in any relationship, romantic, friendship, business relationship, if you have a growth mindset and you're growing and they're not, like that usually doesn't end well.
No,
Yeah, and
we've been there.
we have some that say
Mhm.
no, will not read a book, and that's
Mhm.
okay. You
Yeah.
just cannot be a manager,
Right.
Right.
right? You're not going to go any further that way.
You'll be an operator, and that's the extent of that, 'cause you always need good operators in your business too. You've got to have
Sure.
a good, well-rounded group, right? You've got to have the go-getters and the driven ones, and then you've got to have the ones that are the steady eddies that show up no matter what, that are as loyal as they can be. And that,
Mhm.
people will always be the hardest part of having a
Ooh,
business.
yes.
Yeah.
Always be the hardest part. People and marketing.
Right.
People always ask us, what are the two struggles? People and marketing, right? When you figure that out, which you never will,
Right.
because you'll always be cycling through new people. I think I'm a better hirer today than I was, 7 years ago. I hired based on gut feeling, right?
Mhm.
Then now I have a certain protocol, and still people disappoint or
Yeah.
they
We read
amaze
books
me,
like
you
Top
know?
Grading, things like that, and I have to give her
Yes.
the summary of it and say, "Hey."
Yes. Yes. Is
Yeah.
what we're looking for.
And
I
Lars did a good job
Oh,
too
I've done I've
on
done
his.
his
Yeah.
hiring thing. I know like for every cryocon I go to it just to go, I'm missing a link. What is it? He's gonna tell me, I'm gonna
Mhm.
see it. And every time I learn something new every time I take it. And so I tell all of our friends in businesses, take if you go to cryocon, go to Lars's thing about hiring because that's always
So,
going to
so,
be an
so,
issue.
so two things that get me is one I seen on Facebook is a company advertising, hiring for you, and it says, "You suck at hiring, let us do it." And I say back to them, "You suck too." Just
Right.
so we're clear, right? And the other is on LinkedIn, you always see them putting down leaders, where a leader is this and not this, a leader is this and not this. To be a good leader, you have to be this. Really, what I'd like to see them do is to say to the people we're trying to lead, if you want to be led, this is what you should be doing, right?
Mm.
They're going about it the wrong. They're talking to leaders who are already leading. I got here because I want to be a leader. If you want to be a follower, that's okay, but you have to be coachable. You have to want to be led. And so I think we have that twisted. I
Yeah.
truly every time I read it, I'm like, yeah, there's a whole nother side of this story.
Yeah. I feel like I mean, I always tell, people that have worked for me, that are, becoming managers or leaders for the first time that, you're gonna about 30% of your time as therapist. And that if you're not, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, right, good leadership and management comes down to persuasion,
Mhm.
right? And in order to be persuasive, you have to understand somebody at a fairly deep level, and understand kind of what drives them, and everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap, obviously. Well, so, tell me what are the, like, what are the main modality? Because you guys are not obviously just doing cryo, so what are all the modalities you guys currently offer?
So we have a whole body cryotherapy. We do a lymphatic drainage machine. We do infrared sauna. Then we do all of the aesthetics. We have the facials, the body sculpting, trimming, toning, and then we do supplemental injections and medical weight loss.
Okay. Like, you mean like Ozempic type stuff, or
Correct.
got okay,
hmm
is it all peptides, or
We do, yes, we
okay.
do.
Mhm.
We do quite a few
Mhm.
peptides as well. So I'm
NAD plus is
personally, yeah,
big,
we're really big
glutathione,
into it ourselves. So
Simorlin,
NAD plus, is that
testosterone.
doing the IV NAD,
We
or
did that. We started the
Mhm.
IVs. We couldn't really make money at it. We had like Liquid Vita, different people going 2 for 89.
right?
I can't do 2 for 89.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so we got away from that. And then the doctors changed the protocol on that you could do the injection versus having them
On some of them.
go through the IV. So that's what we started doing. So we got
Okay.
rid of the IVs, and then we were using special butterfly needles. And if you missed and you had to do another one, that would cost me $50.
Wow.
So we got out. Anything we do, we want to do top notch.
Yeah.
We're not looking to go against any big franchise or whatever where they're buying in bulk. That's not who we are. We're one offs, and we want to do it exactly right. So, something that we had found out from ourselves, we would go to those places and we would get the injections or we would get the IVs and we'd leave. Nothing, I never really felt anything.
Mm.
Then we started doing our own. I could taste it and smell it and feel it. I'm like, yeah, there's a difference.
Hmm.
There's a difference
Yeah.
on what we're doing versus what they're doing.
Got it.
But
Yeah,
the
it's
average person's just looking for cost.
yeah.
How cheap is
What
it?
am I going to pay? And so I'm not interested in competing in that realm because I can't
Yeah.
and make a decent profit at it. Do I love the science behind it and what it does for people? Absolutely. We've got a couple of really great, legit places around us.
Right.
I'll refer that business to them if they really need an
Mhm.
IV. I'm more than happy to do that. But it's a time thing. Creating the desire to sit there for 45 minutes to an hour to do an IB. Most people want something instantaneous. They don't want to wait. They
Yeah.
don't get that unless they're in a, dire situation where they really need it. But for us, that just wasn't a great avenue. Works for a lot of people. It
We
just didn't
tried it.
work good for
Yeah.
us. We tried it for 2 years. I
Mm.
mean, we did stick it out for quite a long time to try to make it work because we knew the value, because we
Right.
did them, right? We personally test market everything that
Everything.
we do, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like the electric cryo chambers, making that transition until he knew that I personally found a machine that my people were going to go in and
Right.
love, we weren't going to be able to do
Hmm.
it. And when we found it and I walked out of that chamber, I said, I will buy
She said,
this
"That's
one.
it."
That's the chamber.
Wow.
I knew. And it was 5 years that we've been researching. We knew we'd have to transition at some point,
Right.
right? And wanted to because of the nitrogen nightmares. But yeah, that was we do it all ourselves. We
Mhm.
try it first. We try it out for sometimes, it's an instant thing. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to give it a couple months and then we'll revisit this
Yeah, and our
one.
next step is probably gonna be red light therapy bed. We
Hmm.
don't have
Yeah.
one. We have the red light sauna, but we don't have a red light therapy bed. So we're looking to move into the longevity
Hmm.
business,
Yep.
which is kind of where everything is shifting with the peptides and everything else. So that's going to feed right into an added value of the services that everything we do is a package.
Right.
So very rarely do we sell a one off. It's a package. So when you come in, Dave, we're going to give you a full consultation and we're going to say,
Sure.
okay, for what you're looking for, it's going to be a year journey. You're going to get this, this, and this, and this is what you can expect. And then we have a satisfaction guarantee that goes with that.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so how important, I think I already know the answer to this, but I think it's useful for people to hear. How important is sales in, for early in someone's career? Because I think you'd start, I mean, to me, like I wish it was later in my career that I actually did sales I would argue life is a sales call, whether you're raising money from investors or getting into a school or getting a date or whatever, like there's sales as part
Right.
of life,
Mhm.
but I never did, sort of formal sales and formal sales training and wish I had.
Mhm.
How much do you sort of infuse that into everything you guys do?
It's huge. So my background is I sold alarm systems door to door when I first started in
Door to door
sales.
is the best way to
Yep.
start, man.
Made $110,000 my first year. I had arrived. I love sales, and I propelled into medical equipment and the home health care, blah blah blah. So we bring our team in. We teach them from the ground up. We teach them about open, probe, support, close, retention. Right. We teach them how to get referrals. We teach them when to pause, how to overcome objections. I have an entire PowerPoint.
Mm,
Everyone gets taught, and this we have it set up now to where so I did all the training. There's, I think, 14 PowerPoints. I did all the training. She did all the training. Then my operations manager did all the training. Now my senior manager is going to do all the training. So it's continued. We do role play all the time. Sales is it. We tell people when they come on, this is a sales job. You'll be taught how to sell at the top level
mm,
and you'll be expected to sell. Now, some do and some don't. You know how that goes.
yeah.
Some just become really good operators, and that's okay too.
Mm,
They're just not going to make the 8, 10 grand the other girls are making monthly,
right.
and they seem to be okay with that too. So
Well, have you had anyone who, maybe was with you guys for 2 or 3 years and now has gone off to do something else? Something like a success story of someone you've sort of mentored and coached
yeah,
and
yeah, I would say Vanessa probably.
Hmm.
She came, knew nothing, absolutely nothing, worked her way all the way up to manager, and the stress, it was too much stress for her. That's really what happened with her. So
Hmm.
I have high expectations and we have big KPIs.
mm,
And she was hitting those, but it was stressing her out. She was getting ready to get married and move. So that all transitioned. So she went to work for a sales company
Hmm.
and she's doing
yeah.
really well at it.
Well, that's great.
So yeah, absolutely.
Nice to have those
Yeah.
success stories.
Mhm.
I
Well,
prefer them to stay with us.
Yes, we do.
right.
It's a lot of, I mean, we put a lot of time and effort into them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that I remember years ago, I had this guy, he was my Salesforce administrator and I hired him right out of college. And, this would have been like 15 years ago, paying him 50 grand a year, which right out of, 15 years ago, right out of college is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I same kind of thing like you guys did. I poured into this kid, mentored him, spent a lot of time with him, saw a lot of potential, and he made my entire sales team like 30%. Like he was making me a fortune. Like he was
Yeah.
worth every penny and then some. And he comes to me and he's like comes to my office and he's like, Dave, I just got this offer for $85,000. And I knew I was president. I knew the CEO, kind of a prick. I was never gonna let me pay him 85, at least not right away. And I'm like, he saw the look on my face and he's like, I turned it down. I just wanted to let you know, like, I don't know what you can do, but I know Patrick's really difficult, but whatever. So I think that was like in March. I think by July I got him to like 70, and then by the following January, I got him to the 85. But it's because I poured into him.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not why I did it, but it's like, and again, sometimes people will disappoint you. You'll
Yep.
pour into them and they'll leave anyway. And
Yep, it
yeah, it
does
happens.
happen. Yeah, I just recently actually went through that 6 weeks for 6 weeks saving this person, and
And trying to promote her.
trying to promote, create the value in what she was doing, where she could go. I can't just give it to you. Here's the things that are expected to gain this next level, right? And you're hitting all of these except for this one. So when you get to there, then we can move you in that direction. In the meantime, I'm going to give you this much more per hour because I do see value in you.
Mhm.
And for 6 weeks, I was doing it, and then rumor got to me that now she was going to leave because of this, and Paul's like, well, why aren't you going to try to save her? I said, because I've been doing this for 6 weeks.
Right.
Clearly, she does not want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And at this point, I just wish her the very best. And he's like, well, I'm going to try. I'm like, you do that. You do that.
She left the next day.
He came out of there and he goes, you're right.
She's done. She's done.
Well, it's funny. It's the only thing that has been 100% true in my 35-year career is whenever I've had the thought to let someone go and not done it, I have regretted it.
1,000%.
Would not, and I'll tell you a funny stuff. I thought this is probably about a year and a half ago. I thought I had the one exception. This is right around the Paris Olympics. French kid worked for me. Was really screwing up. Had to come to Jesus. I don't think you want to be here. I said, I want you to think about it. He came back. No, I want to be here. Said the right things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, maybe he's going to turn the corner. And anyway, he basically made up a story about he's French, about a sick grandfather, right, that he had to go visit. Just happened to coincide with the exact dates of the Paris Olympics.
Of course.
Posting all these pictures on Instagram, at the nightclubs, at the Paris Olympics, not a sick grandpa to be found in any of these pictures, right? So when he comes back and I fire him, he's like, can't believe I fired him. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for 2025, our word was accountability.
Right.
And we haven't done very good at that in my eyes. We're getting better. So we have scorecards. So the managers get a monthly scorecard. Everybody else gets a monthly scorecard or bi-monthly scorecard. And they were giving them 4s and 5s, which is the highest score. I go, she hasn't sold anything in a year. Why are you
Right.
giving her 4 or 5? So had to bring them in, show them how to give one. So then I started giving the managers theirs, and they didn't like that I was scoring them at 2s and 3s and some 4s. Why didn't I get a 5? I go, I don't get a 5.
Right.
The 5 is for growth, right? 3 is you meet expectations. I only have a couple of you that in some places overexceed expectations.
Right.
So we just need to get real and call it what it is. And so since we turned that corner, finally, you see it changing. So I told Terri, I'm really getting frustrated with people firing us when we should have let go of them months ago.
Yeah.
And they walk out on you on the worst time. So we have to get better at doing scorecards, holding them accountable, coaching them up or coaching them out.
Yeah.
But not letting them fire us at the worst time ever when we've been trying to save them for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound a little bit insensitive.
It's a business disruptor.
And we don't mean to sound like we're insensitive, but this comes on the heels of me wanting you to have this more than you want it. Right. And when it gets to that level and I start going, like you said, you thought, you're going to turn this guy around and all of this. I've been there so many times that finally, that light's gone off in my head that I cannot want this more for you than you do for yourself. And when we're at that level, that's when that go to Jesus meeting, which is what I call it.
Yeah.
I really feel like I want this more than you do. And we're not on the same page. Can we get on the same page? What can you turn around for me in this next week?
Mhm.
And if it's not possible, it's okay. I still love you and I wish you nothing but the best.
Right.
But I think it's best before things get ugly that we part ways now. And those are tough conversations. I'm a people lover.
Yeah.
I want everybody to love me too, right? And I've learned that they don't, and it's okay. And so with that comes a better place of being able to have those conversations, right? They're never easy. I
Yeah.
go in nervous. I don't like doing it. I really don't. I always tell him, "Can't you do it?" And he, nope,
Right.
that's your lane. There's that lane. And so, you have to step up and do those things. And we hear that too. We get questions, I'm getting ready, this person, she's so good. She's so good. And I'm like, you've got her as your manager. Can she sell? Nobody should be
Right.
a manager that can't sell. They
Right.
should be your top sales dog, right? We've had this conversation with some of these people over and over and over, and I'm like, "You've got the wrong people.
Yeah.
You've got the wrong people on your team."
And we talk about buses and seats a lot.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
EOS, is that the EOS thing? Or
Mhm.
yeah, I think the EOS stuff is really good. I and that, to your point, I don't think it's heartless at all. I actually don't think you're not doing anyone any favor by keeping them in the wrong seat on the bus. If they,
Mhm.
and if they're not happy, I mean, it hasn't happened often, but I've probably fired 250 people in my career or
Yeah,
something like that. I hate every single one of them.
absolutely.
I lose sleep the night before,
Sure.
even if they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I feel like if you don't lose a little sleep, maybe you're a sociopath.
Yeah.
Like that's not normal.
That's not normal.
But the reality is, and it's only happened a few times. I've had people literally contact me later and thank me because they really weren't. Again, I'm always empathetic about how I do it. I'm like, look, this isn't the right fit for you,
Sure.
you
Right.
know. But I have one time I had a guy literally write me a letter because he changed. He was in an HR role, and he was always doing like tech related stuff, which wasn't what he was supposed to be doing. And I was like, you need to get a tech job. He quadrupled his salary. He wrote me a thank you note. It's like, you're totally right. I was in totally the wrong job. I'm making way more money now, and I love what I do.
There you go.
Again, it was just we didn't have that role for him,
Yeah.
and so he found a place that did, and worked out great. Well, you guys both mentioned early on. I don't usually go this direction, but I think it's useful. Is it sounds like you're both people of faith.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you always been that way? Did you grow up that way?
I did.
You go first. I have a different story.
Yeah, we do have 2 very different stories, and it wasn't until, I got to really know him that I understood his story. But I grew up in amazing family, amazing household, super loving, church every Sunday, church Sunday night with the youth groups, church
Right,
camps, all the things, very good basis. Not to say that I didn't stray and do my own goofy things when you start to think you know everything at
right.
18, right? You bestow all the knowledge of the world on top of yourself then. But you know, I always had that. I have an amazing, amazing family. I have amazing children, and I have amazing grands. And yeah, my my life and my picture has been in all respect a a testimony of how things should be done,
Hmm.
right? And how even when you go astray you can bring it back and you always love each other, right? So yeah, I have.
And how does that, how does that get injected into the business, if at all?
So for us, there's really just nothing but crappy garbage music out there. So we do play Christian music in all of our centers.
Okay.
We get nothing but praise for that out of our clients. They
Hmm.
love it. It's soothing. It's relaxing. Um, it's you can't get a facial hearing
Rap
some
music.
rapper in the back. I mean, there's just no way. And so that's who we are.
Okay.
And if people don't come back to us because of that, we're okay. you
Well
Right.
know
well, and we've had, employees give their life to Christ
we
and their
have
families as well.
we have
People who have left us and go, "Just because we heard the music," and we pray before meetings and things like that,
we do.
and they said, "Just because of your walk in faith and listen to the music, you know, here's a video of my daughter who gave her life to Christ,"
Yeah.
and it's just so
Nice.
emotional, right?
Yeah.
And so we hear that a lot. But for me, I went to church with my grandma a couple times when I was a little kid. Went into the Marines, wasn't going to church, turned out to be a full-blown alcoholic, went to AA for 5 years
Mm,
every day, and they talked about a God of your understanding, and so I remembered going to church with my grandma. I started going to church then, gave my life to Christ 22 years ago,
okay.
and haven't drank since, thank goodness.
Mhm.
But for me, it's our character, it's our fiber. We run our company, and we give God the glory. We forward His kingdom, and we tithe, and we really try to be different than the other companies out there. Meaning that we're very reputable, high integrity, and our word means something to us,
Mhm.
Mm,
right? So when I tell you we have a satisfaction guarantee,
right.
we have a satisfaction guarantee.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm curious what advice you might have for me. So I consider myself a very spiritual person. I was misdiagnosed and told I had 6 months to live when I was 24.
Oh,
Obviously,
really?
Yeah.
I turned out fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But for about a month, I genuinely thought I would die, and and it again, that's what made me much more made me more spiritual.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But faith in a formal structure has eluded me, and I'm completely open to it. Like I have a when I was living in Miami up until a few months ago, like I have the studio I would record at in Miami. I made an investment in his business. We would do fellowship most Sundays. He's very, he's a fairly devout Christian, and he would give me homework assignments, and I'll read Matthew, and I'm like, "Oh, I read Job." He's like, "You're not ready for Job."
I just finished
Oh,
Job.
yeah. Job yanked our hearts big. Yeah. Yeah. We
um,
had to do some soul searching on that one too.
but it has eluded me. What advice might you give me? Because it's the part that's so strange is, again, you guys are yet another example. Life just keeps putting, person of faith after person of faith after person of faith in front of me to the point one could argue it's a sign.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's almost funny how
So it
often.
gives me chill bumps, just
I
so you know,
know.
because I
I'm
can
about
feel the
ready to
spirit
cry.
for
I'm
sure.
so happy.
I don't know about advice, but for us is that's who I am. That's how I walk. That's how I talk. I put it out there first because without that, I know for a fact who I am without it.
Mm,
I end up in a ditch, end up drunk. That's where I was on my own.
right,
Whenever I turned my life over to Christ, my life has never been that way again. It's only gets better, better, better. Tithing.
Mhm.
We were at a cryo convention and CRI, um, Crabtree, forget his first name. Anyhow, we met him and now we've hired his guy as our CFO. And our first meeting, he says, okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. He said, all this money that you guys are
Charitable.
charitable that you're writing off, that's fishy. Something's wrong there. You can't just write off money
You
and
can't
call it
possibly be
charitable.
doing that much.
And so we're like, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, what is that? So she said, that's our tithing.
right,
He's like, no, 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 no. No
He
one.
said, let me tell you how businesses do it.
Yeah.
They do it off of the bottom line.
right.
You're doing it off
Of
of your
the
gross.
gross.
Yeah.
And
Right,
I said, but it's off of everything that he gives us.
right,
It doesn't say 10% after you spend what you want to spend
right,
and
right.
what's left over.
Wow.
He gave it all to us. So I give back first. And then we always have a way to do the rest. And there's always he's like, I'm just going to tell you. He goes, that's just not, he goes,
That's not good
I see
business.
it working. I see it working. So we had 3 days of 4-hour-long training sessions with him going through all
Right.
the numbers, right? And for me, that was a big deal. I keep that stuff closely vested,
Yeah.
right? That's our information. So just to open up to that was a big deal. By the end of it, I was so thankful. By the end of it, he wanted to know what each of us learned from it. And then he said, I want to tell you what I've learned. I've learned that there is another way and that there's a better way, and I'm going to change my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he
Mhm.
has done that. He's encouraged the other businesses. He's explained our story to them.
Mhm.
And so you don't know how you're going to impact other people, but that's what we're here to do.
Mm.
And for me too, when I thought I had things under control, they were the worst parts of my life if I go back in my
Mm.
timeline. And so as long as I keep that first, it's never a question like we tell people like, well, are you going to go to church Sunday? You never have to ask us that.
Right,
Yes, unless we're out of town and then we're finding a place where we go.
right.
Unless we're
And we're servants.
down and we're going to be there. You never have to ask us. We'll save you a seat. We're
Hmm.
always there. And we serve. We've elevated our service within our church because that's what you're supposed to do too.
But I think for Terry's story, and I don't know if it'll get out or not, but whenever I met her, her business was struggling.
Mhm.
And I asked her about tithing. We were going to church. I said, do you tithe? And she said, no. I said, why don't you tithe? She said, I don't have any money.
Right.
And I said, well, I will tell you what happened to me. So I told her my whole story. The guy, gets out a check. He's got a bunch of baskets out there. Okay, I'm paying my house. I'm paying my car. I'm paying my electric. I'm paying my food. He said, when I get down to tithing, there's nothing left. He said, take that first and put it over here. Put that money there. You'll be able to afford the rest. He said, try it. If it doesn't work out, I give you money back. That's what he said.
Okay.
So I started tithing. My life changed immensely. So I just told her, I said, you should try it. She said, I only have $20. I said,
Right.
tithe it.
Right.
So she did. Her business blew up the next week. The very next
I
week.
told him, I said, listen, I need this for gas money at the end of the week.
Right.
Right. And he said, if you need it, I will give it back to you. And I said, you
Sure.
remember you said that, right? And so I did. I took it that morning and I put it in there, and he goes, you're supposed to be a cheerful giver. I said, okay. So I gave it. And that Monday morning, I had 6 new members show up at the gym. 2 paid for a full year worth of the membership.
Wow.
I mean, it was, and every day
Within a
that
couple
was-
months, you was at
was
210
3. I
people.
mean, yeah. And so for me, when I write those checks, and then
Sure.
the more money we started making with cryo, and I was writing these bigger, like, I love to write the check
Sure.
and put it in the box. Like, that's me. I don't want to do it digitally. I want to be so thankful that I write that check.
So I want to finish it with this: be yourself.
Mm.
Like, we don't throw up Jesus on
Yeah.
everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
We just try to walk the walk and talk the talk and try to help as many people as we can.
I will tell you too, like the other thing that's got me thinking about it more is the whole thing that happened with Charlie Kirk.
Sure.
Yes.
Honestly, like it hit me in a way that I didn't expect, honestly. And he's clearly, he was a person obviously of deep faith, which, both for him and his family is probably an incredible asset to have.
It's the only way she's going to get through this is by
So
her
she gets to
faith.
see him again in heaven, right?
Yeah.
But the whole ideal is evil exists, and it will always exist, always. And so either you can go that way, or you can go the spiritual way to Jesus' way. There's really no in between. There really
No.
isn't. If you're trying to put both foot on one side, it's just not going to work for you. And so what happened to him was just pure evil. And this world is full of it. And it will happen tomorrow. It will happen next year. It will happen 10 years from now. But God is God. He is the truth, the light, and the way.
Mhm.
And he's always going to provide for his children. And so he will for that family too.
Yeah, I hope
I think
so.
you'll find. I think you'll find your place. You're seeking and you're searching, but just pray that he shows you which direction.
I had a pastor
be
on my
open.
podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said, he basically said, that he saw faith as a gift that God chooses to give to some people. I'm like, where's my package? I'm waiting. It's like above my pay grade. But, Paul and Terri, I can't thank you guys enough. This has been a wonderful conversation. Where can people find you? Where can they find what you guys are doing?
So we're on, obviously we have a website, ultracryorecovery.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're always available. I'm sure you can Google us. You can call us. We will talk to you. If you need help in any way, we're here to help. We're servants.
Yeah.
And we're in Auburndale, Lakeland, and Davenport, Florida. Come see us.
Thank you guys both for doing this.
Thank you for
the
having us.
opportunity. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Real
It was a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Very nice.